All right, folks, welcome back to the program here on a nice week here of sports here in Maryland and North Carolina. But we're going to head on out to Wisconsin, home of the cheese, and also the home of the Green Bay Packers, if you want to know. Also the Milwaukee Brewers. And we have a gentleman who Adam knows really well. So Adam, you want to bring him in?
So our next guest is someone I have known for a long time. I first met him up at Bayside Bowl in Portland, Maine, 2018 when I first went there. He has done stuff with the PBA Tour when they had the service known as Extra Frame. He now has an incredible show that he hosts, produces, called the Brew City Bowling Show in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So joining us is my good friend, $2 Phil Brilo. So Phil, thanks so much for joining us tonight, and talk about the first time that you met me up at Bayside in Portland, Maine.
Actually, I have to correct both of ourselves because the first time I met you, it popped in my head, was 2017 in Reno. You came out for the World Series of Bowling, and you were at the you were at the PBA player draft, and Tom Clark pointed you out as one of the fans, as being one of the PBA super fans back then. So it was 2017 that we first met.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Yes,
but
I was the only fan. I was the only fan, Chris, to go to the player draft, and it was like Tom invited me to go, and I was like, sure. And then Phil saw me, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So, and that was back in the days of the city teams. Now it's the battle of the brands, and but yeah, always had fun. And then several trips. You made it to Shawnee, Oklahoma, I know, for one event down there. A couple times at Bayside Bowl. I don't think we ran into each other at the Tournament of Champions in Akron. I think I was done with Flow Bowling before you started going there. So. Right. But I stole you a Gatorade from Reno in 2017.
Yeah, I know you did.
I got to pay up. Yeah,
I know you did, Phil.
That's funny, Phil. That's funny. That's hilarious.
Pay up on that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
you talk about people stealing Gatorade. I was doing college football with the ACC kickoff a long time ago, Adam, before you came on, and Paul Johnson was the coach at Georgia Tech. So we're doing our show in Greensboro, North Carolina, at the one of the hotels, and he walks by and he puts his Gatorade bottle on our table and left. And I looked at him like, seriously, Coach? What is this? And he goes, oh, I thought it was a trash can. I'm like, thanks, Coach. I appreciate that.
It's a desk.
So nice. It was pretty funny. It was hilarious, but yeah. So what kind of Gatorade was it?
It was Adam's choice. I owe him. Yeah.
It was.
I lost the bet, and I was supposed to buy him a bottle of Gatorade, and I've yet to pay up on it.
And you never did.
I know.
And you never did, Phil.
There's not too many bowling centers that have Gatorade in stock.
I know.
Well, that's crazy. Yeah, they got soda and beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So talk about what do you do? I know in Milwaukee you have a very good production of you used to do stuff with Extra Frame and before they Flow Bowling, before they kind of like disappeared from the PBA. But how did you get involved with the PBA? That's the first question.
Well, I had started doing local bowling on with Time Warner Cable Sports Channel in Milwaukee in 2007. Okay. I had no TV experience, no communications broadcasting experience before I started doing that. I was a fan of the local bowling shows, Bowling with the Champs and the Bowling Game, back in the 80s, 90s when I was growing up as a kid. And I got a hold of them and I said, are you guys going to do bowling? And they said, well, if you give us a program, we'll put it on the air. So 3 months later, after learning how to do video editing and buying some used equipment and putting my Wi-Fi into a little bit of debt, we got going and we got it off the ground. Our first show was we taped it in May. It was on in June 2007. And then we did 26 shows a year.
Wow.
Every other week until 2018 when they changed all the sports channels when it became Spectrum. They changed them all to local news channels. Started with Extra Frame in 2014 because Mike J. Laneside, who everybody still knows, is the sideline guy. You hear his voice during the telecast as he's announcing 10-pin or, who's got the lead. Mike J. and I used to bowl junior leagues together 40 years ago. And Mike had an opening on the crew. Jason Thomas left for USBC, and he goes, let's go to Dubuque and try things out. And I jumped on. Pete Weber walked up to the desk, first turn around working at, and goes, "Who the hell are you?" And survived that. And worked all the way through till the merger Extra Frame into Flow Bowling in 2018. And then once the pandemic hit, that was kind of it for there, and kind of freed me up for local stuff again. So a couple of years back, I mentioned the bowling game earlier. It was a fun little game showy type bowling show. You bowl 4 frames, 5-player teams. They bowl a 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th frame, and you win prizes if you strike in the mystery frame or if you get a double or that type of thing. And it's a blatant ripoff of the bowling game, but we call it the Brew City Bowling Show. And we started that in October 2024. And we've done about 60 episodes so far. We actually average about 9,000 to 10,000 viewers every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. live.
Wow.
And count another 1,000 on DVRs and another. Yeah, so it's still bowling's still pretty popular on TV if it's done right. You can't make it where it's boring. You got to get and the most surprising thing about that as well, 30% of our audience is in that pretty coveted 18 to 34 age group, which is tough to get in bowling. So I'm pretty proud of that one as well, where we're getting 3,000 people rolling out of bed after partying on a Friday night and they're watching bowling on Saturday morning.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I wish I could get more than 15 to tune into my program on Tuesday night.
It grew organically. Our first show we had about 3,500 viewers. It was all social media promos that I did, and it's just kind of caught on by word of mouth and that kind of thing. And
that's cool.
Milwaukee's still kind of it's not the bowling hotbed it was years ago. I mean, in my opinion, Las Vegas is the bowling capital of America now. You could give Dallas Fort Worth a good fight on that too. But Milwaukee still is still pretty into their bowling. So
yeah, I remember when I was a kid growing up, they had the red carpet lanes in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where they had the Milwaukee Open with Jeff Bellinger, bowling, and I had a tape. I had a little tape. I used to tape all the bowling, and that thing doesn't work anymore. You can't even hear the sound anymore. Chris Heidel's so soft, I had to crank it up. But yeah, that's the only place. That's the only thing I know about Milwaukee and the Holler House, because I'd never been there, but I heard all about this bowling alley downstairs. It's like Back to the Future, back to the days of the Pinboy.
We've actually done 3 shows at Holler House over the last 2 seasons. It's like producing a TV show in a semi-trailer, basically.
Nice.
I mean, we got cameras mounted on the walls, we have cameras mounted on the stairs. It's a tight fit, but we get it done. It's a lot of fun. And one of those things where when it was Tommy Jones and Belmo to kick off the USA versus the World when the World Series is in Milwaukee in 2023, I helped the PBA produce that. It was my equipment. Jeff Goodger came in, who's been integral to a lot of the online success, YouTube success of PBA over the last decade plus. And we put on a great show for everybody. And we did the same thing this past year when it was EJ and Belmo down at the Bowling Hall of Fame in Texas.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I actually went to the Hall of Fame. And I didn't know those lanes actually work because I walked past it and I'm like, okay, this looks nice. Yeah. And then when they did it, and I'm like, they actually work.
Yeah. According to Tom Clark, they are the newest wood lanes installed in America.
Wow.
When they put it in.
It was great. The camera angle was great. Don't get me wrong. It was an interesting camera angle. It was like, it looked like something from back to the days of when I used to do the replay of ABC Sports Professional Bowler Store when Nelson Berner Jr. used to do the replay of the shot. The guy that's what it looked like.
Right. Yeah. We had once again it's producing a TV show and a trailer. So I had cameras mounted from the ceiling and cameras taped to tripods hanging over the edge of the lane and from a wind. Yeah. From an opening in the wall and that kind of thing. So you learn to be flexible when you're producing bowling. In places like that. We have some big centers. We do it here in the Milwaukee area. We still have Bolero Wauwatosa still has 48 lanes that they use. They shut down the 24 side, but we also have a lot of centers that are between 6 and 16 lanes, and we do a lot of our productions in those centers. So we have 3 bowling centers in the Milwaukee area: Holler House, Bobby Lanes. We've also done a couple of shows from there. And South Milwaukee Arcade that are all 100 years old or older that have been continuously running.
Oh, so wow. That's cool. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So, Adam, you have a question to ask about.
Yeah. So, obviously, right? So just talk about, your you and I have known Mike J forever, and you mentioned bowling junior leagues with them. How cool was he like back in the day when you guys bowled junior leagues? He now, on the PVA tour.
Yeah, I mean, he was a lot of fun. He knew we used to bowl the Sunday morning junior travel league at all the red carpet centers. You mentioned red carpet, and red carpet was the big. They had 7 or 8 centers around southeastern Wisconsin. Everybody had their youth teams, and so we bowl on Sunday mornings. And Mike J was always a hoot to bowl and be around, and he'd do cartwheels on the lanes after a strike. There's actually, if you go out on YouTube, there's actually a really old clip when Mike J started his communication studies at Marquette University. And they actually did a highlight piece on the Sunday morning junior travel league. And he closed it out by one take, and he closed it out. He grabbed his bowling ball off the rack after he said, I'm Mike J, and he grabbed it, he threw it down the lane, and he struck. It's just, he's a consummate showman. I've learned a lot from him over the years on my production, the way be unique in your delivery. I mean, I don't have a Mike J type delivery, but he also said, be unique, be yourself, put your own identifier out there. I mean, between Mike J and Jeff Goodger, that's where the nickname $2 Phil came from. The original nickname, because everybody, Mike J Laneside, obviously, for Mike Jakubowski. Jeff Goodger's the internet bowling personality. And then they wanted, coming on the extra frame, they wanted to give me a nickname. And the first nickname they gave me was at Bayside Bowl in 2015, and it was Phil Frames. Well, we found out that there was a bowler in Bopo that nickname was Phil Frames. Okay, scratch that one. And then the second nickname they gave me, which was horrendous, and Mike J, I'm never going to forgive him for this, is Phil Balls. So to this day, Dom Barrett was in the booth with me when the nickname was given to me when we were at Bayside, because they had that 64-player bracket. And Dom never let it go, and Stu Williams has never let it go. And actually, Dom did a clinic for some of the youth around here that we live streamed a couple of years ago, and Dom signed a glossy photo for my wife of him, and it's addressed to Mrs. Phil Balls. So, and then Jeff Goodger came up with the $2 Phil motto, because it's a long story, but I never go anywhere without $2 bills, because people always light up when they see $2 bills, because people think they're not made anymore, that type of thing. So. People in the service industry love them as tips, and they always remember. We used to go back to places year after year, and they wouldn't remember my name, but they'd see my face and they go, "You're the $2 bill guy." Yeah, so pretty good for all. So you walk back in the door after a year, and they remember you. And the margarita is a little more full, and the basket of chips at the restaurant, a little few more chips in it. So yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Well, it sounds like it's almost like Clemson football. We have a guy who covers Clemson football, and they bring out the $2 bill. And I don't understand what the $2 bill got to do with Clemson football. So I got to ask him, Trevor Groves, I got to ask him on when we see him down there, what the heck you doing with $2 bills? Because he puts it on Facebook. He goes, make sure you go to bring your $2 bills to Atlanta for the game against the Yellow Jackets. I'm like, huh?
It originally in Wisconsin, long story short, it originally started back in '76 when they started printing them again. And taverns would, if you were a tavern owner and you go to another tavern or bring people with you, you'd pay in the $2 bills so they knew you were another tavern owner. And that kind of fell off after all the years, but there was still a guy that owned a bowling center near me that I did some work for when I was younger that still did the $2 bills for change. And
wow.
So
okay.
Take them home,
Gotcha.
I'd get tips and bring them home. And and all of a sudden people would light up when I gave him his tips, gave him around his tips in Milwaukee. And it's been that way ever since. So
nice. That's cool. Yeah. Go ahead, Adam. You have another question?
Yes. So, a lot of the people that we know, Bill, that have come on our show. So just talk about the sport of bowling, how it's evolved since when you started, with Extra Frame until now.
I think the evolution's been more on the TV side than the live streaming side. What Fox did for those years when Fox got the TV shows has been great. CW this year, they were solid. I mean, year one with never covering a sport before, I had zero qualms watching the show as an experienced bowler. I like that they geared some of the stuff to newbies to the show. We tried to do the same thing. When I'm doing the commentary on Brew City Bowling Show, we're not talking much about the bowling. We're talking about the people that are on. We're talking about some of the things that their interests, that type of thing. We try to tie it in and get it all together. I like how they brought out the bowlers' personalities a little bit more. I think that's a big thing, and I think as CW keeps rolling along, I think they'll start seeing the numbers that they're looking for. I know from our friend Jeff Riggles at 11thframe.com, he had an article recently where they didn't get exact numbers, but the numbers were higher than when they were on FS1, but yet lower than from when the majors were on Fox. And I think I would assume the higher ups of the PBA have to be pretty happy with that. I know the PBA is trying to make more of an influence on social media now with some of the new people that Peter Murray brought in. They were kind enough to work with me. Bowl TV was kind enough to work with me a couple of weeks ago for streaming a regional from Lockport, Illinois. And I'm lucky enough to have the equipment. I can cover it like Bowl TV. We had all 36 lanes and play cover that people could watch on their own. We had our main feed we go back and forth on. And we got a pretty historic victory with Cam Crow, who was in Born to Bowl, and he won his first regional. And so it's just, when people get to see something like that, it's just going to keep building interest, no doubt about it. I mean, you look at what Alex Hoskins has done this year. You look at what Brandon Bonta has done this year. It's starting to get the younger interest, like I said, the younger interest back in there. You're always going to have the diehards like us that are going to watch, no doubt about it. But you got to get those younger ones to latch on, going, hey, this is pretty cool. This is fun to watch. Let's do it. Let's watch every week.
Well, I think it's also good with the CW, but the only problem with the CW is I had to watch somebody on YouTube who streamed it to his television to watch it because the app wasn't working real well.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're going to fix that
that's
now.
The only
with
problem I had. And then I found out like after the tournament championships was over, they signed a deal with ESPN. They're going to put stuff on the CW on ESPN Plus. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah,
I was like, I had to watch the guy who, some guy from Joe Smo, Adam gave me his link or something like that. Yeah. And I'm like, and Nicole goes, you should still watch him. I'm like, yeah, I'll just tune into him, see what he's done. But he talks in between commercials. I'm like, dude, enough. I don't want to hear yourself. Okay. Just, quiet it down. Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky enough here, and they knew that from talking with my salesperson at the TV stations, they knew that it would be a bad thing to ever preempt on their local CW affiliate here because we're on their sister station, which is a My Network TV affiliate, and they knew, so they never preempted anything, and it sounded like they were pretty happy locally too with the results they received from the 10 weeks of the PBA on CW. So, yeah,
that's true. Adam, you have another question?
Yes. So now I have loved the Brewer City Bowling Show, as you know, Phil, and it's like, with all the local sponsors you have, and you have a mystery frame, and it's like, so talk to us about how you got to work with the good people at the American Place Casino. Since it's not in Wisconsin, it's in Illinois.
Yeah, they're not too far away from us, Em. It's actually from the south side of Milwaukee. It's all expressway, and it's about a 35 to 40-minute drive. Mm-hmm. So it's not far at all. Basically, you lose enough money, they'll give you anything. No, I'm kidding. But we've done I was a customer there first, and that's the way it is really for a lot of our sponsors, is that I was a customer first. And then when the opportunity came up from talking with the TV station, when they contacted me about bringing bowling back on TV, it was just like, okay, let's take a shot at it. And we sat down, we talked about it. And, having the National Bowling Stadium in Reno, having all the tournaments that happen in Las Vegas. I mean, look at this week with the USBC Super Seniors and the Senior Masters. I mean, gambling and bowling are kind of intertwined, and being able to sell that to the casino at American Place and go, hey, we're going to have a lot of people that like bowling watching. And even though some of them might not bowl, if you go, hey, come on down here, and you see how they get treated, and they see all the free stuff that people are winning. It's a nice tie-in. I mean, they have a Circa branded sports book inside of American Place Casino as well. And they provide us, the Circa Sportsbook provides us with a 2-night midweek stay to Circa Las Vegas and a day bed rental at Stadium Swim for our high game on every show.
Yes,
that's a $700 stay for the room and Stadium Swim. I mean, every show we're giving away $400, $500, $600 in free play at American Place Casino. We're giving away $40, $50 dining certificates at some local restaurants like Henry Flack Steakhouse, and somebody can win $150 in dining from Henry Flack by throwing 6 strikes in a row. A lot of our local sponsors are bowlers, but they're not bowling related sponsors. They're restaurants, they're car dealers, they're all people that, you know, and it's tough to do because I can talk to a business owner here. Great. Can Tom Clark go and know that the CEO of Chili's Restaurants is a bowler or not? Probably not. You're not going to know a lot of people's interests like that. So I have a little bit of advantage locally that way. Would it be great to see the PBA get more sponsors? Absolutely. Can they do it without some type of marketing arm to go with them? Probably not, for as hard as they want to work at it. They've had some great sponsors. Beatbox drinks have been great. Surfside drinks, which we actually have had for a couple of our mystery frames. So we have, but yeah, we're lucky enough that we've kind of not counted on the bowling industry to need to support us to survive. You know, without the ball companies with the ball registration fees, or the shirt companies with the shirt registration fees, I mean, it's a pretty significant amount of income. Sure, a lot of that gets turned back around into the prize funds by Lucky Strike and the PBA, but it's still a cost that these entities have to go through. We, being local, we can keep it a little cheaper, and I can still make a survivable, you know, profit off of it. So it's always the game.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean,
Phil, we got to run, but I appreciate you joining us tonight, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll get you on during the, in the fall. So when everything starts coming around with the new schedule and all that stuff, we'll get you on. Okay.
Yeah, and just one thing before I go, people, if you haven't subscribed to PBA YouTube, do it. There might be some more regionals coming up during the summer when bowling's really slow. And the good part about the PBA YouTube channel is it's going to be free. So you'll be able to watch some regionals. We're working on it right now. Hope to have the PBA make some announcements on that shortly. And if you missed Cam Crow's win, it was exciting. I don't want to ruin everything, but watch the semifinal game of the stepladder if you don't know the results yet, and then watch the championship match because it is exciting if you know Cam won.
Oh, cool. Awesome. All right, Phil, we'll talk to you soon. All right. Welcome back to the program. Adam, you want to welcome our next guest?
Sure. So
what happened? Did we lose him? I don't know. Okay. All right, Adam. Welcome back to the program, Adam, and welcome our next guest in, Adam.
Sure. So if you live in the Hampton Roads region of Virginia, then you know our next guest. He is the legendary voice of the Norfolk Tides, and he has been doing this for a long time. So let's welcome in Pete Mishu, who is down in Charlotte as the Norfolk Tides are taking on the Charlotte Knights at Truist Park. So, Pete, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And just talk about you have done this for a long time. So, what's it like to be the voice of a well-known AAA organization?
Well, yeah, you're certainly right. I've been doing this a long time. This is my 19th year with the Tides, 25th and all in minor league baseball. And obviously it's been a lot of fun. It's a great run. Certainly the great thing that I really love about AAA is that, these guys are, literally a moment away from getting that call to the big leagues. You never know what might happen. Literally about 10 seconds before I contacted you guys, I got a text on my phone that Kobe Mayo had apparently been injured in the Oriole game. I guess he's staying in the game, but that's how fast it can happen. Somebody gets hurt, a play takes place in Baltimore, and somebody here with the Tides is, on a plane sometimes within an hour. That's how fast it can happen.
Yeah, like I was hearing today, like they do all these moves, like the Orioles will call somebody down in Norfolk to come up, and and this guy is like transacting picks and back and forth. And a lot of these people don't have any more waiver, and more no more time to go down to the minors, so they basically have to clear waivers to get down to Norfolk or some kind of weird way. So, what was it like? What's a typical day for you? Because I know we talked over the years. What is a typical day for you? Like right now, today's a day off, but you just got a text and about Kobe Mayo getting hurt. What's your daily schedule like in the morning? Do you get like emails from the parent club going, "This guy's coming down tomorrow night. Make sure you got the number right."
I wish I did get that kind of information from Baltimore, but unfortunately I don't. I wait until I hear anything from our communication staff Oftentimes we'll get hints of information that something is going to happen, but we can't say anything about it until a transaction comes down. Sometimes we're sitting around for a 6:35 ball game at 6 o'clock, 6:10, 6:15, waiting for an official transaction to come down from Baltimore, depending on what move they want to make and when they want to make it. So a lot of times, we're really kind of hamstrung, in what we can do, what we can say, and what we can prepare for, because obviously the objective, first and foremost, is the success or lack thereof of the big league team. And that's what the Norfolk Tides and every AAA ball club is here for. There are certain organizations, obviously, that put a little more emphasis on winning at this level. Others are a little more worried about simply, having bodies for the big league club. The Orioles probably falling somewhere in the middle of that scheme. But obviously, the big league team, that's objective number one, first and foremost.
Yeah, that's true. So you guys are on a 12-game road trip. Just started today in Charlotte. 6 games in Charlotte and then 6 games in Jacksonville. Do you like this new schedule that you did since pre-COVID? Because it used to be like 3 games here and 3 games there, and
Right.
now it's like 6 now. And then you stay in one city for 6 games, and then you're on to another one.
Yeah, the schedule entirely changed once they reorganized minor league baseball. The International League went from a 14-team league to a 20-team league. There are 2 major changes they made to the schedule. Number one, 6-game series. By and large, we have a couple of exceptions to that, but 90% of the series are 6-game series. And frankly, I like that. I understand the reasoning behind it. It is much easier physically to check into a hotel and know you're going to be in one city, in one room, in one clubhouse for 6 consecutive days. The prior schedule was very much like a big league schedule. We might go for 2 days in Durham, 3 days in Charlotte, then have a 4-game series in Syracuse. It was constantly packing and unpacking. While that's not that difficult, maybe for a player, you think about, equipment people and the training staff and the massive amounts of equipment that they bring and have to set up before and after every series begins. So, I understand the reasoning for a 6-game series. And while it can get a little bit boring to see the same team, especially that 5th and 6th day, I get the reasoning behind it. Now, what I don't like is the fact that, they are still limiting the number of teams that we play. There are 20 teams in the IL, and every year Norfolk only plays maybe 10 or 11 of them.
Oh, wow.
Playing half the league. We have not played Columbus, Indianapolis, Iowa ever. I'm leaving somebody else in the middle. We've only played Louisville once in the last 7 years. We've only played Omaha once ever. We've only played Buffalo, I think, once since 2019.
Wow.
Syracuse only once or twice. Our schedule is very heavy with Memphis, which I don't understand because they're not geographically close, but we get them 24 times a year. Jacksonville, which we get plenty of. Durham and Charlotte, I understand that because they're close, within 5-6 hours. So I get that. But so I don't really understand the way the schedule is put together. I don't know anybody in the league that really likes the fact that we're limited with the number of teams we play, but somebody is putting this schedule together, and that's the way it goes.
That's crazy. You haven't played Iowa, you haven't played you played Omaha once, and that must be like a road trip.
Right. Road last year. We went to St. Paul last year. That's the only time we've ever played them. We're going to Buffalo later this season. First time since 2019 we'll have been there.
Wow.
We played Worcester a couple of times, but it's been now, I think, 3 years since we played them. So it's a very strange way they put this schedule together.
Well,
Crazy.
I'll say this, I know about, the International League. I can remember before Worcester, they had the AAA affiliate for the Red Sox in Pawtucket at the legendary Paw Sox at McCoy Stadium. And it's like, it's sad to see McCoy Stadium no longer around, the legendary players that have come through there, not only with the Red Sox, but different organizations as well. But you've had some legendary conversations, with a couple of well-known names in Dean Smith and Muhammad Ali. What was it like talking to those two legends?
It's funny you mentioned Muhammad Ali. I was very early in my career working as a producer at a news talk sports station, and somehow we were able to get Muhammad Ali on for an hour program.
Oh, wow.
Fascinating just to get him on. He was still active, but certainly nearing the end of his amazing, illustrious career. That was pretty fascinating. Now, Dean Smith, I had a chance to talk with personally, face to face. North Carolina came in to play Old Dominion University. I was broadcasting Monarchs basketball back then. And during the morning shoot around, I see Dean just leaning up against the wall, puffing on a cigarette.
Wow.
Went over and introduced myself to him, and was a little intimidated. This is Dean Smith.
Yeah.
And I asked him if he'd be willing to spend a few minutes and chat for an interview, and he was more than accommodating, said whatever you need, happy to do it. And was just a very nice, pleasant, approachable guy. I was a little bit surprised and very, very happy.
It's like me with Coach K. I met him in person one time, and I didn't say anything in the press conference. And Mike Flynn looked at me and goes, "What's wrong? You couldn't say anything to Coach K?" I'm like, "That's Coach K. I don't want to say anything dumb because he'll tear you up like a piece of cheese real quick, And then I talked to him on the phone when he won his big game in St. John's, and he was very nice on the phone on the old conference calls things. But I get what you're saying. Like these guys are like, these are legends, and you're going up there like, hello, right. How you doing? Yeah, and you're trying to be really professional, and you're like, oh my God, that's Dean Smith.
Yeah, and some of them can be a little standoffish. They're just regular people,
right.
And some of them are very open and friendly, and some of them, are a little apprehensive about the media, especially somebody that they don't know. It just depends who you run into, and you got to go up and take a chance and talk to them, and you see what you get. And some of them, like Dean Smith, turned out to be very nice.
Exactly. So the Tide this year is 15-24 going into this game tomorrow in Charlotte. They're probably doing the same thing as the parent club, struggling. So is it just injuries, or is there just people not in the right place? I know Jackson Holiday's down there trying to get back to what he's doing, with that ham bone injury that's been activated, and making his, season, up and down, because he was in Frederick 1 week. Now he's down with you guys, going all over the place. What's going on with him?
Yeah, Jackson is actually a Double-A right now.
Okay.
He was with us, and I think it was 3 weeks ago. He took a swing. As second he took the swing, he immediately started shaking that right hand, and you could tell he had re-injured it. He went back to Baltimore. They shut him down for about 2 weeks. And then last week, they sent him to Double-A.
Okay.
He and Eston Kerstad both went there for Kerstad to start his rehab, for Jackson to continue or resume his. So we're hoping that we might see one or both of them with Norfolk, maybe at some point even on this road trip. But we don't have any confirmation as to when or if that's going to happen, but certainly we're hoping it will. You would think they're going to need some work, especially Kerstad is probably further away from getting ready to return, with that hamstring issue. But hoping to have them with us at some point, whether it's on this trip or maybe a few weeks down the road, we don't know.
Yeah. And you have another question?
Yeah. So looking, you mentioned you covered Old Dominion University basketball in the past. What was it like to call those games back in the day?
It was great. I was doing Old Dominion. I guess this would have been primarily the early 90s for about 4, 5, 6 years. Probably Chris Gatling was the best player that we had during those days. You might remember him. He played in the NBA for a while, but it was a lot lot of fun. Obviously, back then we were in the Colonial.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And I always thought, the way that conference kind of broke apart and teams moved away, I thought was such a huge mistake. There were such great regional rivalries when you had Old Dominion, University of Richmond, William and Mary, James Madison, American University, so many schools that were within a 3, 4, 5 hour drive with one another. It was great for fans to be able to go on the road and see their teams. And now, of course, that conference has done what almost every conference around the country has done.
Right.
They expanded and spread out to the point that it's tough to really get into the rivalries now. I look at Old Dominion now, in the conference they're in, they're playing teams in Alabama and in Texas and in Louisiana. And, it's difficult for fans in the Hampton Roads area really to get emotionally invested in those kind of rivalries. I understand it's a business decision, but from a fan standpoint and from a broadcaster standpoint, I liked it better the old way.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pete, because I used to go cover the CA when it's down in Richmond. You have the Coliseum, and I saw a video the other day. It's sitting there vacant. It's like, what are you doing with it? It's sitting there in the city of Richmond, Adam. Nobody's using it, and it's just growing like mold and everything. I'm like, how about just knock it down and build a brand new Richmond Coliseum, and you might bring back some tournament games down the road. Hello, it's crazy. So. But I agree with you, Pete. The league, when we cover the CA, it's like totally different now. It's all in, it's up here at Washington, D.C., the tournament, the championship for the basketball. And don't get me wrong, it's great. But Towson's now like the regional team.
Right.
Yeah, and like it used to be like, down in Richmond, it used to be Richmond, VCU, Old Dominion, like you said.
George Mason.
Yeah, George Mason was there, years ago. Yeah, like I met Jim Larinaga the first time at George Mason, and I was like, "Wow, this is Jim Larinaga." Wow. But like you said, times have changed. It's just the way it is now. So,
yeah.
So what is the key for the Knights on this 12-game road trip? I guess they want to be. You would like to sweep the 12 games, get a good record, but that's really hard to do. But what do you like to see from them starting tomorrow?
Yeah, Norfolk got started in a bit of a hole. They lost 5 out of 6 on their first road trip in Memphis this year. Memphis has proven to be, along with Gwinnett, the best team in the league so far this season. In fact, the Tides have had a brutal schedule so far. They've only played, I guess it's a little over 30 games, and about half their games have been against Memphis and Gwinnett, who have the 2 best records in the league. So they've had a really tough schedule. Durham's the only team they played that's had a bad record so far. Everybody else has been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They play Charlotte coming up this week. Charlotte leads the league in batting average, leads the league in runs. So they've got a really good offense. The Tides are last in the league in batting average, last in the league in runs. So their offense is going to have to come around. Their pitching staff, which has been decent this year, despite losing some people, is going to have to produce against a very good club. In the White Sox affiliate. And then next week, the Tides go down to Jacksonville and play a Jacksonville team that statistically has the second best pitching staff. That's going to be an entirely different series. So this week, they're playing maybe the best offense in the IL. Next week, maybe the best pitching staff in the league.
And I can say I love Jacksonville's nickname, the Jumbo Shrimp. And it's like, I think Bubba Watson is one of the owners of the Jumbo Shrimp. And it's like, it's nice to see people outside of baseball getting involved, with minor league baseball like he does.
Yeah, I was not aware of that, if that's true. But yeah, Jacksonville is, it's a unique franchise. It's a unique name. They've got a great logo. I imagine they probably sell a lot of merchandise, since they made the name change a few years back. So, good for them. We see so many of these teams now, changing their nicknames and their identities and, getting away from the old days. Just like Gwinnett, for example, for so many years, they were the Richmond Braves.
Yes.
The Gwinnett Braves. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, they became the Stripers and, a new color, a new identity, a new logo. It gives communities something to identify with.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. I grew up, like I said, when the Red Sox had.
Yeah, I don't want to put that out there. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, everybody, welcome. Yes, back in 1996 here in the state of Maryland, there was a baseball team that it was up in Bel Air, and they made a trip all the way to the state championship game down at the Joe Cannon Stadium and won. And how I know that, because my older brother Will was part of this team. So we have one of his former teammates joining us, Billy Greenwell, who Billy is 30 years ago this year. It's kind of crazy. So I know back then you're a young buck trying to get into the baseball world, but what's the stories you had about that team in '96? Because I know there was a lot of crazy characters on that team besides my brother.
Yeah, I had a lot of good memories from back then. One of the things maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't talk about is that my father used to own a batting cage called Grand Slam USA.
Yes.
Sometimes we would almost spend the night there doing God knows what, having a lot of fun, but also doing some baseball stuff too. But it got a little wild there, and I think we made a lot of good memories from things like that. We brought our team together doing things like that, and I thought it helped our overall camaraderie.
Mm-hmm. So talk about that season. I was a freshman back then in '96, so I remember my brother stayed very late for practice, and sometimes practice ran until like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night sometimes, and Mike Ennis was the coach, and Mr. Eden was the pitching coach. And how crazy was it when you guys got together? The whole team got organized. Was there any like funny, weird people on the bus? And you're like, oh my God, this is an awful long trip to, wherever you guys had to play.
Well, after we won the state championship, it was probably the most fun bus ride I ever had. We were chanting, making lewd sounds, making fun of Coach Ennis for smoking in the clubhouse between innings because he was so darn nervous. I think we all were, but that was one of the funny things that I remember. A lot of good times.
That's cool. Let's talk about my brother, because I know you played with him on the '96 baseball team. What type of pitcher was he? Because I remember when I was playing against him on the street, he could pitch left-handed and right-handed, and he was deadly pitching left-handed.
I think I remember him more as being a junk ball guy trying to throw strikes. He wasn't going to blow it by many guys, but everybody has their limitations. So velocity was not one of his deals. So he was trying to spin it a lot and try to command the ball and try to get people to hit over top of it. That's what I remember from him.
Adam, you have a question for
Yeah,
us?
so just getting back to your legendary father, he was a legend up there for Maryland high school baseball. He had so many state titles. So just talk about having a legendary father who did so much for.
Yeah, well, he was a
Maryland
huge part of my baseball life. Obviously, when I was 15 years old, like I said, that's when he decided to leave a vice president job of Chase Manhattan Bank and become the owner of a batting cage.
Wow.
So I lived in Delaware at the time, and our business was in Baltimore. So I would actually go for the weekend, and we would sleep in the pro shop. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just hit and hit and hit until my hands were bleeding. I mean, it was just a perfect situation for me. And he's been there every step of the way. Even when I played in the minor leagues some years ago, they were traveling to watch me. He would put some young guys in charge of the facility, and he'd go out and watch me play. And we had a blast.
That's
yeah,
cool.
It's called I'm ready to bash your father. It's like he was a Major League Baseball scout for the Seattle Mariners. It's like just talk about the batting cage he had with Grand Slam USA.
Well, we had just a handful of cages that you drop the token in, you get a certain amount of pitches, and then there was also some cages where you could do throwing and hitting in there. And I don't know how many balls he threw to me that I hit over the years, but it has to be over 1 million. And anytime I wanted to hit, he was more than willing. And he's 80 years old right now, and he still throws.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. My gosh.
He loves
it.
Last year was his last year at Boys Latin, where he coached for the last 15 or 16 years. And like you said, he won a handful of titles there. So his legacy is entrenched there. But he was a huge part of my life and in my baseball career, and there's nothing I could do to repay him for that.
That's cool.
Yeah. Billy, your dad, was a scout. So how cool was it to be a scout? Be a scout for the Seattle Mariners. Did you get a chance to meet some of the people that he scouted, or say, hey, you want to go to Seattle and meet Ken Griffey, or all that stuff?
Well, Alex Smith was his the main scout in the area, and my father was kind of like a bird dog for him. So it wasn't like his main job. He
Okay.
essentially went around the area and watched people I played against and some of the big names that were kind of blowing up the radar gun at that point. So he didn't do a whole lot with them. He was just kind of part of the process, and he would give names to Alex Smith, who, like I said, was the main scout in this area. So that's kind of how that came about. Not a whole lot of names that came.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, but recruiting in this area, people don't realize there is good talent in Baltimore, because I know throughout my broadcasting career, there's some people like I think it was the guy who pitched the seam on the right, Wistick, who pitched for the Mets.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, Witasek. Yeah, I remember him. And then getting drafted by the Twins, and playing, and got invited to spring training. How cool was it getting invited to spring training with the Twins?
Oh, it was awesome. I was around some names that I never thought I'd be around, like Tony Oliva, Tom Kelly, Torrey Hunter, Burt Blyleven. It was a really cool experience.
Did you walk into the locker room going, am I really supposed to be? Like, what's going on here?
Coming from a Division II college where I went and graduated from, going from there to spring training with the Twins was a whole different ball game.
Nice.
For sure.
Let's talk about Joe Cannon Stadium. I've been down there a couple times throughout the years with Coppin State and some of the games they played. How difficult to hit in that stadium, because you have that water tower in left field that's like a big eyesore.
Yeah, it's not the visually pleasing thing to look at. The backdrop, I don't remember being great. The picture I'm looking at right now is a whole lot nicer than the field that we played.
No, it is. Yeah,
it was dirt, and it was sandy, and the hops were very irregular. What they got now is a whole lot nicer. I know my son's played on it before. He's 18 years old almost, and a senior in high school. I'm helping coach the team. This is the hat that I'm wearing.
Nice.
So I've been there. It's certainly changed a lot for the better.
Does he talk to you like, Dad, you were with the Twins? Seriously, Dad? Like, does he ask you like stories? Like, I know when I talk to my dad about his baseball stories, I hear it like all the time, like the same stories, but it's like it gets better over the age of
I'm sure I do a lot of that with him. I'm full of stories that I've given him. Some of them appropriate, some not.
Back to that game in '96. I just remember that day, because it was supposed to be my brother's graduation party, and he had a game.
Yes,
and true story, Adam. We put a picture of his face right on the plate where the food is.
Yeah,
it was a memorial service because we.
Good go! Oh my gosh, Chris! Oh wow.
Yeah, and I just remember him driving the old Escort down there, to the parking lot, and he comes back to the house, and the house was full. His car was full of like lemons and all that stuff on top of the of his car. So you guys had like a little party after you got off the bus, right?
I don't remember doing that.
Okay.
Man, it's been so long. Like
I know, it's been so long. I just remember that because he came home and he goes, "Hey guys, I won," and then all of a sudden I'm like, why do you have a lemon on your car? Like, what the hell? But
that's funny.
Yeah, but there's the things
I remember about that '96 team was I didn't really think that we were the most talented team. I thought if you look back at our record, I think we were like 16-8 going into the playoffs. It was nothing special. We were pretty good. We had some good players, but the moment that we started in the playoffs, it was like everybody on the team, even our 9-hitter, played their best that they could have ever possibly played. It was really, really fun. And we had two pitchers that pitched every single inning of those playoffs, myself and John Smith, who was a great pitcher too. So I didn't pitch in college, but good enough to play in high school at it.
Yeah. What about Mike Lacey? Because he was the standout pitcher, I guess, because of AI. Said he was he pitched in the final, right? Was he the pitch in the?
It was John Smith that pitched the final. I think Lacey a year or two younger than us, so he
Okay.
wasn't playing that at that point. I don't believe, not pitching at least.
Yeah. Damn AI, when you type things in about, because it's funny when I put in the Miller High School 1996 championship, it comes up with like the win and all that stuff, and then it comes up with you as an outstanding hitter.
Okay,
So it's like, okay, how did AI know about that in 1996? It's like,
That's
I don't know.
like I
Oh,
said, our
yes.
whole team
Oh.
played extremely well at that point. I don't remember having the best finals, particularly personally, but yeah, at that point it didn't really matter.
right.
3-2.
Yeah, 3-2. 3-2. So, and you have another question for
Yes,
Bill?
getting now to today, what's your take on the state of baseball overall from when you played in college and went to spring training with the Twins compared to now?
Well, it certainly has changed a lot. I'm not even sure for the better. It's mostly a power game. The metrics are a huge part of it. What's your exit velo speed? What are you topping on the radar gun when you're pitching? I believe the fundamentals have kind of gotten away. It's more, like I said, about the power. And I'm not sure that that's the best way to go about it, but that's the way it's kind of turned. So, well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think
it's like
everything has
with
changed.
Ghost Runner now, and X ratings on second. It's like
I cannot.
It's Chris and I. It's like don't get a start. It's like it's like
on your conversation about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like I
great
know they're having it, in the World Baseball Classic, but it's like have it in the World Baseball Classic, but don't have it in the major leagues. It's like, come on. I mean, it's like
It's crazy.
It's deep.
It's called. We've talked to a lot of former major league players, and it's like it. I don't know. I mean, I did it. I kind of enjoyed last year's All-Star game. When they had a swing off. By the winner, and I was like, okay. I mean, I don't know if it
That's
could work.
It's funny you mentioned the swing off. The swing off.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was. One of my years in the Frontier League, which is independent baseball, which is where I spent most of my minor league career. In the All-Star game one year, we were tied, and nobody had any more pitching left. And they went to a swing off. It was the first time that they ever did that, and apparently it was even broadcasted on like ESPN back in 2002.
Oh wow!
Wow! Okay. So I think that was the first time something like that had ever happened. And I wasn't a part of the home run derby part of it, but our team did win. It was fun. It was
nice. Cool. Yes,
cool. That's cool. Billy, before we let you go, is there any one story that I don't know about my brother? That there's things like he's telling me when I was a kid growing up with him, but there's something I'm thinking there's something he's not telling me. Is there something like it's like PG-13 because we got kids tuning in?
Well, again, it was super long ago, and I think I kind of spoiled the one thing that I mentioned before we went on record is how he was doing the broadcast of our playoff games in the dugout with a little handheld. And like I said, we had a whole lot of fun with that. He was good at it, so I could see where it runs in the family.
Well, I guess I rubbed something on him because maybe I'm the one who started doing all the broadcasting when I was a kid. And because I used to have these little cards that had like home run and all that stuff at different bases. And I was upstairs doing my own games. And my brother goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just having fun."
Better
than what the kids do nowadays.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like Bill, don't get me started. When we were kids, we were outside playing in this stuff, the snow, football. Now when it's a blizzard out, you don't even see anybody outside. They're all on the Nintendo and
it's like come on,
or
it's like
cell phone.
You're saying Nintendo.
It's like I can say this, Bill. It's called. I live here in North Carolina, but my family and I used to live in New Hampshire, and we lived on the mini farm, and we lived on a couple acres. So I remember climbing trees, getting my elbow scraped, and it's, and it's like nowadays, it's like these kids don't know what that is, and it's like, but hey, I mean, it's like there's nothing wrong with going outside, climbing trees, getting your elbow scraped, drinking water from the water hose, from the hose, and it's like, I mean, these kids nowadays don't know what that is, but
they're overcome by technology.
I sure remember that, back in the day.
Yeah, the technology has done a lot for kids, and I don't necessarily think it's in a positive direction.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, you go out and climb trees, but I mean, everybody was playing sports. If it wasn't something else, you weren't. If you couldn't do it, you weren't part of the cool kids.
Right. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I remember playing Little League baseball when I lived in New Hampshire. I mean, I remember going to camp with my friends in the summer, and it was like, it was a lot of fun. Nowadays, it's like, so go to camp, I mean, enjoy the time with your friends. I mean, you never know, enjoy the memories.
Yeah. Like I was saying, everything is put together and it's organized.
People
need to figure it out and go outside and get your friend groups together and play.
Right.
Do something.
Off the internet. Exactly. Before we let you go, what are you doing now? Because I know you're doing a camp. You're doing like a baseball thing, because I know you do some coaching. Besides.
Yeah, I'm helping assist at Kennerdale High School, where my coach, he's a senior. Actually, I think you might know John Swanson, who was the coach at Bel Air. He's one of our assistants as well.
Oh my God, John Swanson! I remember that guy. I always use his catchphrase: "On hop, let's go." On hop.
Does it?
Yep.
That's fun.
Man. That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm helping coach there, and we had a good season last year in school. And like I said, my son's going to be a senior this year, so hopefully he helps us out a lot. But we'll see. But I love it. I love being around the game. That's
cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking time on a Saturday, and I know you're a busy guy, and thanks for so much. And we'll keep in touch, and we'll probably when it gets around May, when they have the state championship stuff, we'll try to do another thing. And if you want to get some of the, if you know any former alumni besides my brother, we'll
get them on.
That'll be fun.
All right, I got some.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, buddy.
Here's Harry Counts. Wise is at 8 career home runs. There's a well-hit ball, deep left field, that might go. It is a home run for Rick Wise, his second of the game. His fourth home run of the year, his ninth career home run, and what a story this is. He hit a fastball, and he ripped it. He's evidently not too worried about a no-hitter right at this moment. It certainly hasn't affected his hitting concentration. We move on to the bottom half of the ninth inning. Rick Wise with a no-hit, no-run game going. Jimmy Stewart, who came in defensively to play left field, is going to lead off, to be followed by Ty Clyde. Three and two to Jimmy Stewart. Strike three, cool, that's one of them. Wise has two more to go. Stewart called out on strikes. A pitch on the inside corner. Frank Lucchese, the edge of the dugout. He's as nervous about it as Rick Wise, probably more so. Big sigh by Frank. Well, I wonder what's going through the minds of the Phillies fielders. They're hoping not to have a ball hit close to them, whether they want it. Flying a ground ball, hit to Harmon. Harmon to Wise, covering two of them. He's one out away from a no-hitter. Pete Rose stands in. He's nothing for three. Full count to Pete Rose. Well, it's gone down to the wire. Rick will want to make sure this is a good pitch. Rose, as we've mentioned, one of the game's feared hitters. George Foster due to hit next. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swing a line drive, he did it! Vukovic made the grab, Wise has done it! A no-hit, no-run game. Rose with a line drive to Vukovic, it's all over. Rick Wise has just pitched a no-hitter, and look at his Philly teammates mob him. Wise has done it. Rose, as we've mentioned, one of the game's feared hitters. George Foster due to hit next. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Swing a line drive.